So whenever you're in a situation that you're unsure about, a lot of the time you feel it in your stomach area
Right.
when you're uncomfortable about something. In Adventures in Wisdom, it's called the grungies, right? So whenever you feel grungy, your stomach feels funny. Grown-ups feel it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes like when you're excited, you feel the butterflies. I think
Yeah.
there's that emotion. A lot of us feel it in our gut area,
Right.
or solar plexus area.
Mm-hmm.
For people that understand what that is.
We'll just stick to
I also
God.
do, I also do yoga, so I've got this.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So the first thing to do is look for those. And then when
Right.
you feel the grungies, you ask yourself, what's causing this?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Brain Power TV with Dr. Echo. Today, I have an amazing guest with us. Her name is Bwalya Penza. I hope I said that right. If I didn't, please correct me. She's an amazing author. That's her book behind her. And she teaches kids about how to learn more about themselves. But, let me not tell you all about her. I'm going to let her tell us more about how she got to this place in her life where she's doing this amazing work with kids. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Dr. Echo. I'm really happy to be on your show. And I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Yes.
So as you mentioned, I do work with kids. My name is pronounced Bwalya. So the B is
Bwalya.
almost silent, but not quite silent.
Bwalya, kind
Yes.
of, sorry.
So I'm Bwalya. I'm from Zambia, but I was most of my education I did in the UK, in England. Um, so I didn't just fall into working with kids and authoring. As you know, coming from where we come from, our parents have, it's not just at home, but in the Western world as well, I know it happens. You get
Right.
certain expectations, you've been sent so far away on this expensive education, and they have certain expectations for you. So actually my first degree was in finance, business finance. And then I went on to study gender development and globalization for my master's,
Mhm.
because I always had a passion for the empowerment of women and children as well. But I never knew how to work at that as a career that
Mhm.
would look like a serious career to my parents and everyone else around me.
Right.
So somewhere along my work career, I worked with the British Council, and my role was to manage and train a group of high school children in project management, and in developing climate change projects.
Right.
And that was the most rewarding work I've ever done.
Right.
And it really made me, you always get these messages from the universe, right? Or from about what your core is, what your purpose is, what you're supposed to do. And
Right.
I've always enjoyed working with kids. And when I had my own child, it really pushed me more to want to spend more time with her. So I
Right.
started looking at kinds of activities I could do with her. So we set up with her when she was about, I think she was about 8 or 9, an adventure kind of camp during the holidays called
Mhm.
Artistic Thursdays. But I didn't want it to be a random camp. I wanted it to be something that was purposeful.
Right.
So we always had a theme for each camp. So say the theme is integrity, that
Mhm.
I would work with the kids on them knowing what integrity is. and we'd make up a story along the way that would make them understand what integrity is.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, integrity is doing the right thing regardless of whether somebody is watching you or not.
Right.
So we'd always have stories around that. If you see, okay, America, so I use American currency. If you see a $50 bill lying on the floor in the supermarket or
Right.
whatever, if no one is looking, are you going to put it in your pocket and just go away or go and buy something? Or are you going to, go to the shop teller or the manager and say, look, I found this note, maybe somebody dropped it, or give it to charity or something if no one claims it, that kind of thing. So we used to have that as a weekly program during her school holidays. And while doing that, I found that, the kids really enjoyed the camp. It was something for them to do, but I didn't have much structure around it.
Right.
So I did some research and I came across a coaching program for kids called Adventures in Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed up, I did the course, and I became a certified Adventures in Wisdom coach because the coaching program really resonated with me because it was story-based, and we learn so easily with stories. We remember things with stories.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I became an Adventures in Wisdom coach. And I would coach kids in groups or one-on-one. I actually even did some coaching in schools, and my main aim was, my main target group rather, was coaching children in the 11, 12, 13-year-old range, because that's the kind of time when kids are dealing with change, not just within their bodies, but maybe they're going from junior school to high school. So it was really an important age for me to target. And from there, how did I start writing my book? My book is something that's been, I think it's a story that I've wanted to tell for a while, but it has evolved through the different things that we've been going through, in, the pandemic and working from home and homeschooling and things like that. So the book has really evolved, but the main essence of the book is basically discovering who you truly are, or rediscovering who we truly are, what our values are and what our purpose is, because I'm really strong on that. It took me, I'll start revealing my age.
That's okay.
It took me a very long time to reach a place where I wasn't looking at, oh, what so-and-so thinks about me, or even what my mother, as important as my parents' opinions are, or my elders' opinions are, stuff. What is it that makes me happy? And yes, and it was always something that was nagging at me, and I always found like there were situations that were bringing me to working with children. So back to the book. As a child, I used to go on safari with my parents and my brothers.
On my bucket list. I haven't been on one. I'm like,
no.
We'll have to fix that, won't we?
You have to come to Zambia for a safari.
I will. I'll be there.
Yes, to the South Luangwa. So I used to do that maybe at least a couple of times a year from a very young age. So seeing animals and the environment and the way they're like in their natural habitat, not in zoos. I don't actually like going to zoos because I don't like seeing animals caged up.
Yeah, that's understandable when you've seen them in their natural habitat.
Yes, exactly. So the book is a self-coaching journey using a safari as an analogy for how we go through life.
Right.
Yes. And it's a preteen girl who's leaving Lusaka, which is the capital of Zambia. Her
Right.
mom has this job in animal conservation, prevention of poaching, wildlife crime prevention, etc.
Right.
And the whole family has to move into the bush, basically. So her whole life is uprooted.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, she's been dealing firstly with homeschooling because of the pandemic. And then now she has to move to the bush where there's basically zero Wi-Fi or very limited Wi-Fi, limited
Right.
network. She's
Right.
leaving her friends. She can't take a little dog with her. So
Wow.
she's really upset. She's not happy.
Right.
And she's dealing with the kinds of changes that kids are dealing with now, you know. No one asked for this, and for them, they've been in it. They just, I mean, the world is starting to open up now,
Right.
but even with the world starting to open up now, kids are adjusting to that as well
That's
after.
true.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's basically about how she navigates this whole situation,
Mm-hmm.
um, and how she basically rediscovers herself through this process of leaving home, going into the bush. What does she do now in the bush? So the essence of the story is it doesn't matter where you are. It
Right.
doesn't matter what the circumstances are. As long as you're true to yourself, you follow that inner voice, which we're always being guided by, and you stick to your values, you can be happy in any situation.
Yes, I like that. I'd like to explore that a little more with you. Can you give our viewers, so it's both kids and parents listening, can you
Mm-hmm.
tell them, or can you give us some practical tips or strategies to use? So one for kids and then for parents, like how, when we're in the middle of situations, it can be really hard to see what we're supposed to learn about it or
Mm-hmm.
even be aware of the changes going on inside of us. So what do you tell kids and parents? How can we approach it in a practical sense?
Okay, so I'll start with the kids. So whenever you're in a situation that you're unsure about, a lot of the time you feel it in your stomach area
Right.
when you're uncomfortable about something. In Adventures in Wisdom, it's called the grungies, right? So whenever you feel grungy, your stomach feels funny. Grown-ups feel it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, sometimes like when you're excited, you feel the butterflies. I think
Yeah.
there's that emotion. A lot of us feel it in our gut area,
Right.
or solar plexus area.
Mm-hmm.
For people that understand what that is.
We'll just stick to
I also
God.
do I also do yoga, so I got this.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So the first thing to do is look for those. And then when
Right.
you feel the grungies, you ask yourself, what's causing this? Why am I feeling like this, right?
Right.
A lot of the time, whatever the situation is, it's not the situation that's making you feel like it, but what you think about the situation,
Right.
right? So let's say you're at a new school and you're about to be picked. There's, normally in a sports situation, you pick teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say they're playing, I'm trying to think of an American sport.
Just do
um,
soccer. We do
okay,
soccer. Yeah.
football, yes.
Football, which you
Oh,
call football, but yes, they call it soccer.
yeah. So you're playing football, right? And team captains have to pick, and you end up being picked last,
Right.
right? Um, how you feel about being picked last um, is about you, not about the person picking you last, right?
Right.
So you start feeling the grungies, you start feeling funny, and you start getting down on yourself. Oh, I was picked last, nobody likes me. But you can um, when you get to that feeling of where you've identified what the issue is, you think nobody likes you, you ask yourself. So it's called power shifting, but I think in coaching, it's also called reframing. But in Adventures in Wisdom, we call it power shifting. So how do you shift from this negative power to a neutral or better feeling situation, right? So you ask yourself, after you've decided that actually, they didn't pick me because I'm no good, nobody likes me, etc. You ask yourself, well, is it true? Is it true that nobody likes me? Then you start looking for evidence. You have other friends. At your old school, you had friends, who you played with and stuff. So you start thinking, oh, maybe it's because they don't really know me that I wasn't picked first. I know what I'll do. I will, maybe play well if you're a good player and show them that next time I'll be the first one to be picked. Or, look for something that is within your capabilities, obviously. Speak to someone in the team, or just be positive, like, not being picked. They could have not picked me at all, right? That could have been the worst thing. Yeah. Right. And move on from that. So for children, I always say, because children always find themselves in these situations.
They do.
Even in a peer pressure situation, right? Everyone else is doing it. So why shouldn't I be doing it, right? In that situation, you have to be very sure of what your values are. And I teach different tools on how to identify your values, right? And what's true to you, because you want to be ready to be in a situation where you're able to stand up for yourself and say, that's not for me, you go ahead, but that's not my kind of thing. It could be smoking, it could be drinking. You have to know what you stand for in that situation. Am I someone who will smoke a cigarette just because my friend said? Now it's like e things. I can't remember what they're called. The e-cigarettes.
Yeah, vapes.
Yeah,
e-cigarettes. Yeah.
Just because my friend says it's cool, is that something that I think is cool? No. Will I shoplift because my friend thinks it's cool? No. But you have to identify your values so that you're ready in a situation like that. So if you don't know how you stand on something, you'll dilly-dally and you'll be like, oh, and then it'll be easy for someone to persuade you.
Correct. Yeah. So what's one of those tools? You said you teach several tools. So can you share with us one tool you teach the kids to identify their values?
Identifying their values.
Yeah.
Like basically what we went through. You go through a list. You can develop a list as a child of certain peer pressure triggers, right? That happen in school, in the playground, etc. So bullying, gossiping about friends. It could be anything. It could be a whole list. So you make this list and you ask yourself, you put up 2 columns. One for, is this something that I stand for? The other is it not, right? And where on a scale of 1 to 10 am I completely against this, or, I'm not that bothered? The things that are completely against are things that even when you do it, you'll get those grungy feelings, right? And it's the only person, as I always say to adults and children, the only person whose opinion matters is yours. So even if you're busy trying to please another person, at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, it's you who will be who you will have to deal with, right? And the more that you fall into situations such as peer pressure and stuff, when you haven't recognized your values. So like I said, you do the list, and from that list, you eliminate what's a definite no for you and what's a yes for you. And those definite no's, you don't you don't compromise on.
That's the foundation of having a good life, I would say, right? Because it's
Yes.
so important. We have to constantly, both parents and both parents and kids, we're constantly having to make choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Choice to do the wrong thing or the right thing. But I love what you said about putting the list together, because you're being proactive and you're not waiting till something happens before you decide,
Exactly.
oh, what am I going to do about it? Even as adults, I think it's important for us to what do we think about list of 5 things, about talking about others, about going past the speed limit, about going late to work, things like that that can affect us. What do we think about those? Okay, and how can we change it? I think that's so important. For us to do that. So thank you for sharing those. Yeah. And what will you say to the adults?
My tip for adults is, for parents, is don't parent your children using an old form of parenting that you were parented with, that your grandparents parented with. That form of parenting doesn't exist anymore because we're not living in the same world. We're not even living in the same world that we were in 2 years ago.
That's right.
Right? So your parenting has to be relevant to what's going on in your child's life and in the world at large. For parents, I find parents can sometimes be very general with their kids, right? General questions, use times like dinner time. I always say you should have at least one meal a day together as a family. Sitting at a table, not somebody sitting in front of the TV, somebody sitting in, getting a meal. It's so important to connect. And as a family, you have a set of values, which everyone has an input into. Every member of the family has an input into. As a family, this is what we stand for. So you would have that with, as a family, this is what the economics stand for. And we fought out. And this list can evolve and change. It doesn't have to be the same list. I mean, it doesn't have to be like, this is our list and we're sticking to it, right?
No matter what.
Exactly. This is something that can evolve and change according to the way life changes, the way we've had to evolve and change in this, this new world that we're living in.
Right. Thank you for that. That's so important. And yes, I know it's hard for us to change the way we are parented because that's what we know. Exactly. So how do you encourage parents to even recognize that in the first place? And where can they go to look for help, like to change the way they think about parenting?
Speaking to other parents as well helps. You find that there's so much in common, but also you learn a lot from your kids when you listen to them. I was when I do my coaching, before I engage a client, I have a questionnaire for the parents and a questionnaire for the children, right? The children tell me what they think they need to work on and what they think is good or bad in their family and how they feel about it. And then the parents also give me their point of view. And when creating the coaching package, I try to marry the two situations so that it can address both the parents and the child's situation, what they want to change from the situation. And I do the coaching with the children, but the take homes, they're always interactive and the parents have to get involved. Excellent. So yes, what I find is when parents they sign a contract at the beginning of the to bind both parents and children to the coaching section, right?
Okay, wonderful.
So sometimes the parent gets too busy, and so the child goes through the coaching, and I'll be every week. So say I have a 6-week coaching session. It's once a week. did you do your take-home assignment? Oh, what did your mom say, or what did your dad say about this activity?
Right.
Oh, they really didn't get involved because so-and-so had a deadline. So schedule time
Right.
for this. Your child is actually learning things that probably you're learning now in your coaching or in your therapy or etc. and everything. But
Right.
thinking about coaching for children, this is something that's so important that I wish I had as a child,
Right.
because it gives you direction,
Yes.
and you get to when you get to life where you're making life decisions about where you want to go.
Right.
I think it puts you a step ahead of somebody who hasn't been through that kind of coaching program.
Yes, I completely agree. You're absolutely right. I like that you bind the parent and the child together. And it's a good thing because, our kids are really good at keeping us accountable. If you start missing things,
Yes.
they will call you out. At least my kids will. So I like that you make the parents and kids be accountable to each other. And doesn't that increase the bond between the child and the parents?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I had a client, two clients, they're two sisters that did not get along at
Right.
all.
Right.
And I was coaching them online, and they'd sit together but far apart. So one's here, one's here.
Right.
And then as the coaching, like by the third session, they were sitting like this. And
Yeah.
they didn't even notice. And I said to them, wow, girls, today you're sitting next to each other. And they're like, what? Oh, yeah, and, and
Love it. That's
so,
wonderful.
but part of their friction had to do with their relationship with their mom.
Mhm.
And so as they started doing the take-home activities together,
Right.
there was a great bonding between them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So where can the listeners find out more about your coaching program?
They can find out more on innersafariquest.com. So that's
Okay.
Inner Safari Quest, one word. Or
Okay.
they can email me at info@innersafariquest.com.
Okay. Wonderful. Yay. Thank you so much. I love the program that you're doing and how you're helping parents and children understand that they can bond with each other and they need to get to know each other better. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing your expertise with us today. And I hope you gained as much as I did, viewers. So see you on the next episode. Thank you again.
Thank you. I didn't even tell you the name of my book.
Oh, please.
Sorry. So the book, is called Kasuba's Inner Safari Quest,
Yeah.
and it's available online from most bookstores. So
Okay. Wonderful.
yes,
Yes,
Amazon.
please check it out. I already ordered my copy. So, yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much. Have a
You're
great
welcome. Okay. Bye, everyone.
day.